Most people throw away the one thing that makes cockroaches, ants, and mice flee faster than any expensive exterminator ever could. Coffee grounds aren't just waste from your morning brew, they're actually nature's bouncer at the pest control party. While you're tossing those used grounds in the trash, you're throwing away one of the most effective natural pest deterrents sitting right in your kitchen. The secret lies in that rich, powerful aroma that gets you going every morning. That same smell, bugs absolutely hate it. Most garden pests will take one whiff and head straight for the exit. It's like playing death metal at a library. They just can't handle it. But here's where it gets really interesting. The compounds inside coffee grounds, especially caffeine, work as natural insecticides. We love our caffeine buzz, but for many insects, caffeine is basically poison. Their tiny nervous systems can't process it the way ours do. A little caffeine perks us up. The same amount can kill a bug. Well, the good news keeps coming. Coffee grounds don't attract new pests to your space. This isn't like leaving food scraps around that invite more trouble. Instead, they actively push unwanted visitors away. Think of it as installing an invisible no vacancy sign that only insects can read. Some pests get hit harder than others. Slugs and snails absolutely despise coffee grounds. These slimy garden destroyers will literally change direction when they encounter coffee-treated soil. Ants, those persistent little home invaders, also steer clear of coffee-scented areas. They use scent trails to navigate. And coffee grounds mess with their GPS system completely. And the weird part is, flying pests like wasps and mosquitoes react just as strongly. Wasps, normally fearless when it comes to crashing your outdoor barbecue, will avoid coffee-treated spaces. Mosquitoes, those summer party crashers, also find coffee grounds repulsive. Their sensitive antennae pick up the coffee scent from surprisingly far away. The science gets even better when you consider how long-lasting this effect can be. Unlike chemical sprays that break down quickly, coffee grounds release their pest-repelling compounds gradually. Rain doesn't wash away the effect immediately either. The grounds need time to fully decompose before losing their power. Then there's the concentration factor. Fresh grounds pack more punch than old ones, but even used coffee grounds retain enough active compounds to keep working. The key is that coffee smell staying strong enough for pest antennae to detect. Once that fades, it's time for a refresh. What makes this whole system brilliant is how simple it is. No mixing chemicals, no special equipment needed, no safety gear required. You're literally using something you'd throw away anyway. Coffee shops throw away pounds of used grounds daily. Your kitchen produces them naturally if you brew at home. The effectiveness varies by pest type, but the basic principle stays the same across the board. Coffee compounds disrupt pest behavior patterns. Whether they're crawling, flying, or slithering, most common garden and household pests want nothing to do with coffee-scented territory. Now that you understand why coffee grounds work so well against pests, let's look at exactly which specific critters you can expect to keep away using this method. Now that we know why coffee grounds work, let's get specific about which pests actually pack their bags and leave when they smell your morning brew. Ants are probably the most dramatic quitters when it comes to coffee grounds. These little workers rely heavily on scent trails to navigate, and coffee completely scrambles their GPS system. Spread some used grounds around ant trails or entry points, and you'll watch them do confused U-turns like they hit an invisible wall. The caffeine doesn't just confuse them, it actually disrupts their nervous system. Makes sense why they'd rather find easier targets, right? But here's where things get really interesting. Slugs and snails don't just avoid coffee grounds, they can actually die from caffeine exposure. These slimy garden destroyers absorb caffeine through their skin, and even small amounts can be lethal to them. It's like kryptonite, but for creatures that eat your tomatoes. Sprinkle grounds around your plants, and slugs will literally choose death over crossing that caffeinated barrier. Then there are fleas, those tiny jumping nightmares that torment pets and homeowners alike. Coffee grounds create an environment they absolutely hate. The texture irritates their bodies, while the scent overwhelms their sensitive detection systems. Your dog might love rolling in weird stuff, but fleas will abandon ship faster than passengers on the Titanic. Wasps present a different challenge since they fly around looking for trouble. Ground-level coffee application works, but here's a game changer. Burning dry coffee grounds creates a smoke that flying pests can't stand. The concentrated aroma becomes like an invisible force field around your outdoor spaces. Just make sure you're using completely dry grounds, or you'll end up with more steam than effective pest control. And the weird part is how well this works on mosquitoes. These blood-sucking party crashers use multiple senses to find victims, but coffee grounds interfere with their ability to detect carbon dioxide and body heat. Burning grounds amplifies this effect dramatically. One small dish of smoldering coffee grounds can clear mosquitoes from an entire patio area for hours. The burning method deserves extra attention because it transforms coffee grounds from a passive barrier into an active pest-fighting weapon. The smoke carries caffeine particles and aromatic compounds much further than scattered grounds ever could. Flying insects encounter this airborne deterrent before they even get close to your space. What makes coffee grounds especially brilliant is their double-action approach. They create both physical and chemical barriers that pests struggle to overcome. The texture bothers crawling insects, while the chemical compounds mess with their biological systems. It's like having a bouncer and a biochemist working security at the same time. Different pests respond to different aspects of coffee grounds, but the end result remains consistent. They go somewhere else. Crawling pests hate the texture and scent, while flying pests can't handle the airborne compounds. While knowing which pests coffee grounds control is only half the battle, the real magic happens when you learn the specific techniques that make these grounds work like professional pest control. Now that you know which pests coffee grounds can tackle, the question becomes how to actually use them effectively. And here's where most people mess up completely. The biggest mistake? Thinking you can just dump a pile of grounds somewhere and call it a day? Wrong move. You need to scatter them evenly around the areas where pests are entering or where you want protection. Think of it like drawing an invisible fence that bugs absolutely hate crossing. Fresh coffee grounds work great, but used ones are just as effective. The caffeine content remains high enough to keep pests away. Spread them in a thin, even layer around plant bases, along garden borders, or near doorways where ants like to march in. The key word here is thin. We're not building coffee ground mountains. Timing matters more than you might think. Coffee grounds lose their punch after about 2 weeks. The oils and compounds that make pests run for the hills start breaking down, and that signature smell fades. Mark your calendar and refresh those grounds regularly, or you'll be wondering why the ants came back with reinforcements. Let's not forget the power of dry grounds versus wet ones. Dry, finely ground coffee works better for spreading because it covers more surface area and doesn't clump together. Wet grounds can get moldy fast, which defeats the entire purpose. If your grounds are soggy, let them dry out completely before application. Here's a trick most people never consider: burning dry coffee grounds amplifies their pest-repelling properties dramatically. The smoke creates a barrier that flying insects like mosquitoes and wasps absolutely despise. Just place some dry grounds in a small metal container and light them up during outdoor gatherings. Works like a charm and smells way better than chemical sprays. Windowsills deserve special attention because they're highways for crawling pests. Sprinkle a line of grounds along the entire length, paying extra attention to corners where bugs love to hide. Door frames work the same way. Create that coffee barrier right where pests want to enter your home. And here's something crucial: never ever use whole coffee beans for pest control. The surface area is too small to release enough scent and compounds. Always grind them first, or better yet, save money by asking local coffee shops for their used grounds. Most places are happy to give them away instead of throwing them in the trash. The application doesn't need to be perfect or pretty. Scattered grounds actually work better than perfectly straight lines because they create more unpredictable scent barriers. Pests get confused and turn around instead of finding gaps to sneak through. But remember, consistency beats perfection every single time. Regular applications of properly prepared coffee grounds will keep more pests away than sporadic heavy doses. The goal is maintaining that scent barrier that makes bugs think twice about entering your space. While pest control is the main goal, you'll quickly discover that coffee grounds offer some unexpected bonuses that make this method even more worthwhile than you initially thought. Here's something most people don't realize: when they start using coffee grounds for pest control, they're actually getting a 3-in-1 deal. While those pesky ants are running away from your garden, your plants are getting fed. Coffee grounds contain nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the same nutrients you'd pay good money for at the garden center. But wait, there's more to this story. Coffee grounds don't just feed plants randomly, they're picky about who they help. Blueberry bushes absolutely love them. So do azaleas, rhododendrons, and most houseplants that prefer acidic soil. These plants practically throw parties when you sprinkle coffee grounds around them. Makes sense, right? They're getting pest protection and premium fertilizer in one shot. Then there's the mulch factor that nobody talks about. Those coffee grounds sitting on top of your soil aren't just lying there looking pretty. They're blocking weeds from sprouting while keeping moisture locked in the ground. Your plants stay hydrated longer, and those annoying dandelions can't get a foothold. It's like having a security guard and a babysitter rolled into one. Well, here comes the part where things get interesting. You can't just dump coffee grounds everywhere and expect magic to happen. Too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing pretty fast. Stick to the 20% rule. Never let coffee grounds make up more than 1/5 of your soil mix. Go overboard and you'll actually harm the plants you're trying to protect. The soil becomes too acidic and root systems start struggling. And the weird part is how easy it is to get these grounds for free. Most coffee shops are practically begging people to take their used grounds away. Starbucks has been giving them away for years. Local cafes usually have buckets full of the stuff sitting in their back rooms. They'd rather see it go to your garden than fill up their dumpster. Everyone wins. They save on waste disposal, and you get premium pest control without spending a dime. Let's not forget the environmental angle here. Every pound of coffee grounds you rescue from the trash is one less pound heading to a landfill. Those grounds would just sit there producing methane gas, a greenhouse gas that's way worse than carbon dioxide. But in your garden, they're busy fighting pests and feeding plants instead of contributing to climate problems. The timing matters more than most people think, though. Fresh grounds work better than old ones, but used grounds from your morning brew are actually perfect. They've lost some of their acidity during brewing, making them gentler on plants while keeping all their pest-fighting power. Just make sure they're not sitting around getting moldy before you use them. Here's where it gets tricky, and why knowing the right application method separates the pros from the amateurs. Even with all these benefits working in your favor, coffee grounds aren't a magic bullet for every situation. Sometimes you need to think bigger picture and combine different strategies for long-term success. Getting coffee grounds to work as pest control isn't a one-and-done deal. It's more like brushing your teeth. Skip it for too long, and problems start showing up. The key lies in consistency. But here's where most people mess up royally. Regular application every 2 weeks keeps that coffee smell strong enough to send pests packing. But here's the weird part. Many folks think more is always better. Wrong. Dumping massive amounts of coffee grounds everywhere actually backfires. Your plants start suffering from too much acidity, and suddenly you're dealing with dying vegetation instead of thriving gardens. Makes sense, right? Then there's the moldy grounds disaster. Old coffee grounds sitting around for weeks, they're basically pest hotels. Mold attracts exactly what you're trying to repel. Fresh grounds repel ants and slugs. Moldy ones invite them to a buffet. The difference is night and day. Let's not forget the biggest mistake of all, expecting coffee grounds to work miracles. Got a serious ant colony that's been building for months? Coffee grounds alone won't cut it. They're prevention, not pest extermination. Think of them as your first line of defense, not your entire army. Smart gardeners combine coffee grounds with other natural methods. Diatomaceous earth around slug-prone areas. Essential oil sprays for flying insects. Coffee grounds is the foundation. This layered approach actually works because different pests hate different things. Ants might avoid coffee but laugh at your essential oils, while mosquitoes couldn't care less about your coffee barrier but flee from certain scents. But why do some people swear coffee grounds don't work? Usually because they're using them wrong. Whole beans scattered around. Useless. Grounds applied once and forgotten. Pointless. Old stale grounds from last month's coffee stash. Actually counterproductive. The timing matters too. Spring application sets up your defense before pests establish territories. Waiting until summer, when everything's already infested, you're playing catch-up, and coffee grounds aren't miracle workers. Weather plays tricks on your coffee ground strategy. Heavy rains wash away your barrier faster than you think. Intense heat dries them out completely, reducing effectiveness. Reapplication becomes crucial after storms or during particularly wet seasons. Here's something most people never consider. Placement strategy. Random scattering barely helps. Target known entry points. Focus on areas where you've spotted pests before. Create intentional barriers instead of hoping general coverage works. And the weird part is that some plants actually benefit from regular coffee ground applications while others suffer. Acid-loving plants like blueberries and azaleas thrive. Tomatoes and peppers? Not so much. Know your plants before you start your coffee ground campaign. The bottom line? Coffee grounds work brilliantly when used correctly as part of a broader pest prevention strategy. Expect them to replace professional pest control for major infestations, and you'll be disappointed. Use them consistently and correctly, and you'll wonder why you ever bothered with harsh chemicals for basic pest prevention.